This is Israel's first king, or every fool wants a cult leader. We are in Judges chapter 9, and we are now just after the death of Gideon, the hewer, who was called by Israel to be their first king. We read in the 8th chapter, in verse 22, the men of Israel said unto Gideon, rule over us, both you and your son, and your son's sons also, because you have delivered us from the hand of Midian. And Gideon said, I will not rule over you, neither will my son rule over you. Jehovah will rule over you. And this is exactly what Israel is wanting. They want somebody that stands head and shoulders above everyone else, someone that can make their decisions for them, somebody to look up to, someone that they can refer judgment to, because they don't really want to govern themselves according to the commandments of the Almighty. They'd rather have someone else tell them what to do. And Gideon dies, and as soon as it came to pass that he died, that the people then began to worship their own gods again, gods of their own making. Baal Berit, or the god of Baal, the Lord of the covenant, was the name of one of them, and it didn't take them too long to fall away from all that Gideon had done to them and to forget all the goodness of the Almighty. And now, the son of his concubine, a concubine that he selected out of Shechem, and this is of the lineage of Hamor, and so he does not take her to wife. Even though Gideon has many wives, he has 70 plus sons, this is a son that is born to him, and his name is Abimelech. Avi, my father, is the king. Just happens to be the name of this son. But we find out that this is the one son who wants to make himself king. The rest of Gideon's sons, they have no intention. There's no indication that they want to be the kings of Israel, to rule over Israel. They are a family of great nobility, certainly because of their heritage. But he was the son, Abimelech was the son of his concubine out of Shechem. And it says in verse 1 that Abimelech, the son of Jerubbaal, went to Shechem to his mother's brethren and communed with them and all of the family of the house of his mother's father, saying, I pray you, in the ears of all the men of Shechem, let me ask you, is it better for you that all of the sons of Jerubbaal, which are 70 people, reign over you, or that just one reigns over you? You know, someone that has your best interest at heart. So it's not a huge bureaucracy. Now, remember, I am bone of your bone and flesh of your flesh. And so I'm really giving you a choice here. And his mother's brethren said to him in the ears of all the men of Shechem, and he said that their heart was to follow Abimelech. He said, he's our brother. And so they gave him 70 pieces, or 70 pieces of silver out of the house of Baal Berit. Now, if these are talents, this amount of talents is about $2 million. $2 million, and I believe this is what it's talking about. It talks about pieces of silver. We don't know exactly what it is, but it's certainly not the under $1,000, which would be shekels. It would be the talents of 2 million, because they are going to hire vain and light persons, or worthless, in English it would be worthless and reckless people. He's going to hire some idiots and morons to follow him. This is what's going on. And so now they're going to make him the king over Israel, and he now goes up to his father's house, which is in Ophrah, and he kills all of his brothers, who are all the sons of Jerubbaal or Gideon. all 70 of them. They take them all to one place, one stone, and it is a mass execution that happens. So all these people are hired as mercenaries. He takes these worthless individuals, just people will sell their soul for a buck, and now he hires them as mercenaries. He then goes into the homes, he goes out far and wide, and gets all the sons of Jerubbaal, or Gideon, and then kills them all in one standing at one place, except Jotham. He was the youngest son, and he was the only one left because he hid himself. And so all the men of Shechem, they were all gathered together, and all the house of Milo, and they went and they made Abimelech their king, and it was right down by a pillar that was in Shechem. And again, the plane of the pillar that was in Shechem, this pillar again is a pillar, the image of jealousy, it is called. It is an obelisk. It is a phallic symbol. These things are still in the land of Israel. They were put there by the pagans. They re-erected one of these phallic symbols just a few years ago that was Caesarea over on the coast. And so these things, everyone knows what they are. These are the obelisk of Beth-Shemesh. These are the image of jealousy. And so that's where they made him king. And so when they told the youngest son of Gideon what had happened, then he went and stood at the top of Mount Gerizim, which is the Mount, or Har Bracha is what it's called in Hebrew, the Mount of Blessing. And this is where he cried out and shouted down to all those down in Shechem, which is at the base of the mountain. He said, "Hearken to me, you men of Shechem, that God may hearken to you." And then he puts forth this parable in which he says that the trees went forth on a time to anoint a king over them, and they said to the olive tree, "Reign over us." But the olive tree said to them, "Should I leave my fatness wherewith they honor God and man, and go to be promoted over the trees?" And this is kind of a parable, so to speak, of going to Gideon. And Gideon says, "No, I don't want this. I don't want to be your king. You know, this is simple. Let me have, so like $500,000. Just pay me and for the service that I've rendered, and I'm going to leave you to your God, and let the Almighty judge over you. He is reigning over you. He's been doing a fine job of it, and as long as you stay under his protection, within the fence of the Torah, you're protected. So just stay there. You don't need a king. He is our king." But the people, they want a king. They want someone to reign over them. And then it goes on, and then he said to the fig tree, "Come and reign over us." But the fig tree refused. And then he goes on and says, after going through this, went to the bramble bush and all this. Now, I'm just going to go right to the heart of this, which is in verse 16. Because it says, now therefore. So we're going to get to the end of this particular parable, a parable of trees going to other trees and ask them to reign over. Everybody wants a king. Everyone wants somebody they can follow, somebody to make up the rules for them. And this is what they want. They're asking anyone. And finally, they go to the bramble bush, which is not much of a tree. But they want someone to reign over them. So we're going to go to the son of a concubine, one that's not even one of his wives. "Therefore, if you have truly and sincerely done this, in that you made Abimelech king, and have dealt well with Gideon, Jerubbaal, and his house, and have done to him according to the deserving of his hands." Now, if you've done this, if you righteously selected him, and if you've done right to all of Zerubbabel's children, then, and then he goes on to say, "My father fought for you. He ventured his life. He delivered you out of the hand of Midian. And now you've risen up against my father's house. You've slain his son, 70 of them upon one stone, and you made this Abimelech, the son of his maidservant, the king over the men of Shechem, because he's your brother. So now, if you have dealt truly and sincerely with Jerubbaal and his house this day, then rejoice in Abimelech, and let him rejoice in you. But if not, let fire come out from Abimelech and devour the men of Shem and the house of Millo. Now here, the word Millo really is ramparts. It's a Beit Millo is what it is. And it's not a capitalized. In your King James Version, it's capitalized, the house of Millo, like in somebody's house. No, Millo is simply ramparts. It is the house or the edifice of the ramparts. It is the ramparts, what we call the castle keep. You know, on the corners of the city where you have the large keeps up there, the ramparts, the most fortified part of the entire city, the entire castle. And so he's talking about the men of Shem. And at the ramparts, it says, let fire come out from the men of Shem and from the house of the ramparts and devour Abimelech. And then he ran away, fled, went down to Beer, and he dwelt there because he was afraid, because his brother has now made himself king over this area. And so it says in verse 22 that when Abimelech had reigned 3 years in Israel, then God sent an evil spirit between Abimelech and the men of Shem. Now, when it talks about God sending an evil spirit between them, it means he torched things up. The Almighty torched things up between Abimelech and the men of Shem, who all voted for him as king after he had already then killed his 70 brothers. And so the men of Shem began to plot against Abimelech, that the cruelty that was done to the 70 sons of Jerubbaal might come, and as we continue on in verse 24, that this cruelty, and they recognized this was a cruel thing that was done, and that their blood might come to be laid upon Abimelech, their brother. And so they realized that he has done the wrong thing finally. And this was what the youngest son of Jerubbaal said. If you've done the right thing, then go ahead and rest in him. But if he's done evil, then this is going to come back to sting you. So now, 3 years later, they're starting to wake up. This guy is scum. We voted for this guy, and he is scum. And so, even though they helped him in killing his brothers, what the men of Shem did, finally, they set an ambush for him in the top of the mountains. And what they did is they robbed everyone that came their way. And so they told the king, Abimelech. And so Gaal, who was the son of Ebed, came down with his brother and went over to Shem, and the men of Shem put their confidence in him. And so now they've got a leader, okay? Gaal is their leader. And they went out in the fields, gathered the vineyards, and trode the grapes. They made merry, and then they went into the house of their God. They did eat, and they did drink, and there they cursed Abimelech. And so Gaal, he said, why should we serve this guy? Is he not the son of Jerubbaal? And Zebul, his officer, they serve the men of Hamor, the father of Shem. See, that's why I was saying that they serve the father of Shem, Hamor. These are not Israelites. And this Abimelech, his mother, is not an Israelite. They are the family of Shem. And so they said, these men of Israel, because now they're dwelling together, why should we serve them? We would to God this people were under my hand, and then I'd remove them. And so this is what they're saying at the big drinking party. And so he said to Abimelech, go ahead, increase your army and come out. And when Zebul, the ruler of the city, heard the words of Gaal, his anger was kindled. And he sent messengers to Abimelech, and he said, behold, Gaal, the son of Ebed, and his brethren have come to Shem, and they are fortifying the city against you, building a siege wall. Therefore, get up at night, everyone that's with you, and lie in wait in the field. And it shall be in the morning as the sun is up, and you get up early and you set upon the city, and he and the people that is with them, when they come out against you, then you trash them, you destroy them. You will be able to take them down. So Abimelech, all the people that were with him, that night, they laid in wait against Shechem in 4 companies. And Gaal, the son of Ebed, went out, and he stood in the entering into the gate, and Abimelech rose up, and the people that were with him, who were lying in wait. And when Gaal saw the people, he said, look, there's people coming down from the top of the mountain. So they're inside the city. And Gaal says, it looks like people coming down from the top of the mountain. But yet Zebul said, I think you're seeing things. You think. It's just shadows that you're seeing. And then Gaal said again, look, some people are coming down in the middle of the land. Take a look at them. And in the darkness, they can see, okay, now they can see another company is moving along. And then Zebul said, where is now your mouth? Where you said, who's Abimelech, that we should serve him? Take a look. He's coming after us. You were the big mouth, and now we've got to go fight against him. They knew that now they're in trouble. And so Gaal went out before the men of Shechem, and they fought with Abimelech. And Abimelech chased them and fled before him, and they were overthrown and wounded even into the entering of the gate. So they went out and attacked. Abimelech turned around and attacked them, and now Abimelech conquers. And so the commander-in-chief thrusts out Gaal and his brethren so that they couldn't dwell in Shechem. And it came to pass that the next day that as the people went out into the field, they told Abimelech what had happened. And so he took the people, divided them into 3 companies, and laid in wait in the field. And they looked, and there were people that come out of the city. When they rose up against them, they again attacked them. And Abimelech and the people who was with them rushed forward and stood at the entering of the city. And 2 other companies came upon all the people that were in the fields, and they killed all of the people out in the field. And so that was the day that Abimelech took the city. He took the city, they slew all the people and beat down the city, and then sowed it with salt. So the initial attack, he was able to then repel them and get to the gate of the city. Some of the people escaped and went to another city, and then Abimelech attacked again and then destroyed the city and sowed it with salt. Once you put salt in the ground, now you're not going to be able to grow anything. So all of the fields round about Shechem, he destroys from producing anything for a long, long time to come. There's going to be nothing that's going to be able to grow there. So Abimelech, now we're going to see that Abimelech is going to then attack his own people. And then it says in verse 46 that when all the men of the tower Shechem heard, they entered into the hold of the house of the god Berit, into the inner sanctuary. And they told him what had happened, that all the men at the tower, the edifice, remember these are the ramparts of Shechem, that they were all gathered together, and they were all in this house. And so Abimelech took an axe, a sharp instrument, went out in the field, and he cut down one of the boughs of the trees. He put it on his shoulder, and he told everyone, do exactly as I am showing you what to do. What you see me do, hurry, do it. And so all the other people, they went down and cut every man a bough and followed him. And then they came to the doorway in the area of the ramparts in this tower, and they set them right there by the hold on the fire on the tower and set it on fire. And so all the men that were in the rampart tower in the keep died, about 1,000 men and women. Then Abimelech went against Thebes, and he camped against it, and there was a strong tower, and in that strong tower, again, finally, it's boiled down to this. That's all that's left. The men and the women and all the city that are left, they go up into the tower, and they shut the tower up. And then in verse 52, we continue to read what transpires there. Abimelech came to the tower, he fought against it, and went hard to the door to the tower to burn with fire. He's going to do the same thing that worked before. But a woman took a piece of a millstone and from the top of the tower drops it down and breaks Abimelech's skull. And so he's, his brains are half coming out. He's bleeding there, and he calls to his armor bearer and he says, "Kill me. Draw your sword out and thrust me through. I don't want it said of me that a woman killed me." And so his armor bearer took out his sword, thrust him through, and he died there. When the men of Israel saw that Abimelech was dead, they departed every man to his own place. Thus did God render the wickedness of Abimelech, which he did to his father in slaying his 70 brethren. And all the evil of the men of Shechem did God render upon their heads, and upon them the curse of Jotham, the son of Zerubbabel. And so now we see the very thing that was prophesied, the very curse, now comes upon them. But this is what we see all through with every king of Israel. We are going to be told in 1 Samuel, when the last judge speaks to the nation of Israel. We have the very last judge, and they want a king. And the Almighty speaks to Samuel and says, "They haven't rejected you, they've rejected me. Make them a king, but make it very clear what kind of king this is going to be." And this is what goes on even today, ladies and gentlemen, even in the church world, among the body of believers. Instead of a person governing himself according to the commandments of God, we want somebody to tell us what to do. We had brought it up in an earlier segment of the book of Judges, something that needs to be reiterated over and over, because it was Samuel Adams, Brother John Adams, who was one of the co-authors of the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. It is John Adams' brother Samuel who said, with the ratification of the Constitution, which is what constitutes the federal government of the United States, he said, "We're not basing the future of America upon this Constitution, far from it. We're basing the future of this nation upon every man's ability to govern himself according to the commandments of God." And we see that Israel has the opportunity over and over and over to govern themselves according to the commandments of God, and when they don't, then they are given a leader who then takes them into bondage, or another nation comes against them and destroys them, and these are the things that Almighty uses to call his people back to him. And now we see this very situation that Gideon says, "No, I'm not going to be your king. My sons aren't going to be your king. My sons' sons aren't going to be your king." But yet the people want a king, and so they rise up. They bring up someone who is not even of their bloodline. Someone's not even qualified to be king. Not qualified. He is only half Israelite, so to speak. His father, yes. His mother, no. She's from a pagan background, from the sons and daughters of Hamor. And so now we finally come down to the very situation here that they want a king, they get a king, and then that king abuses and kills them, and they turn around and kill the king that they have chosen. Now we are going to see that we have got judges that are now going to rise up on the horizon, because Israel is going to return to paganism after the death of Gideon, and it is going to then go down, and we're going to find out why, because these are the things that we're still dealing with to this very day. We'll be back in just a moment after we give you this opportunity, as we do each week. This is the time. No matter what time you're watching, where you are on the planet, if you're watching this years from now, the reason why it's on is because others gave so that I could get this message out to you. Now, this is your opportunity to give so that others will get this message. As you have freely received, now this is your opportunity to freely give. If you do not, you will become the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea is dead because there's minerals, there's nutrients going into it, but nothing ever goes out. It just evaporates in its own soup down there. And year by year, century by century, it continues to shrink. We don't want that to see that happen in your life, ladies and gentlemen. This is your opportunity to give. Give an outflow. What you've been blessed with, speak those words. What you've been blessed with, sow back into this ministry. We'll be back after you have this opportunity. So get on the phone, make your calls, be a part of this ministry now. Now we're going to see where Israel again turns to socialism. Judges chapter 10 and verse 1. After Abimelech, there arose to defend Israel Tola, the son of Puah, the son of Dodo, a man of Issachar. And as the scripture says, the men of Issachar knew the times and knew what to do. And here's a man who knows what to do, and it says that he dwelt in Mount Ephraim, judging Israel for 23 years, and he died. And after him, after these 23 years, Yair, a Gileadite, he judged Israel for 22 years. And he had 30 sons that rode upon 30 ass colts, and they had 30 cities, which are called Havoth Yair to this day, which is in the land of Gilead. And so, his sons were then sent out under his training and his teaching, and they were sent out to be judges in Israel. Yair was the judge, but he trained up his children in the way that they should go, and they went out and they took the word out there. Again, they're calling people back to the standard of righteousness, which is the Torah, to worship the true God the way that he said to do it. And all this time, ladies and gentlemen, of course, the Ark of the Covenant, we have the Ark and the tabernacle, which is in Shiloh, And we're going to see what transpires in Shiloh at this particular point in time. But we've got the judges that are going out there warning the people all throughout the land. And so now these 30 different cities, they've got a judge there. They have someone that's teaching the Torah. These are actually doing, and it's important that we understand where these people are from, because these are not Levites, ladies and gentlemen. The Levites are not doing their job. The Levites that are supposed to be the ones that are instructing Israel in the ways of Yahovah. And then in verse 6 we go on to read that the children of Israel did evil in the sight of Yahovah. They served Baalim, they served lords, and Ashtaroth, which is, what is Ashtaroth? That is Easter. Easter. Ashtaroth is Easter. And the gods of Syria. See, remember Asher? Asher, he came out after the confusion of the languages. This is the grandson of Noah, and he brought the worship of Nimrod over into Assyria. Asher, Asheria. And he built Rehoboth, and he built Nimrod and Nineveh. And we're going to see Jonah having to deal with this pagan culture in the book of Jonah later on. But the gods of Syria, this is going right back to the Tower of Babel, the very same things that got brought over into the Roman Empire, and Constantine then made it part of his Christian religion, the Holy Roman Empire. And they worship the gods of Zidon and the gods of Moab. The Moabites and the Ammonites worship Moloch and Chemosh. And so this is what the children of Israel got into. And they worshiped the gods of the Philistines. They forsook Yahovah and served him not. And once you no longer serve him, you no longer keep his commandments, you are to take care of the poor, the widows, the orphans. This is part of serving him. But they didn't do that. And, we see this very thing that's happened in America today. The hospitals in America, all of the major universities, the Ivy League schools, they were all built to train ministers. Then the medical schools that came out of them and all the hospitals, they were all built by churches, by believers getting together and taking their responsibility seriously, raising the millions upon millions of dollars that it took to build these edifices, and to the healthcare system in America worked. It worked. But then the people then got off the path, started serving themselves instead of the true God, and then the government had to come in and pick up the slack where the body of believers, where the church in America was no longer doing their job. Now it's no longer churches running the healthcare system and taking care of people and doing it to really minister and serve people. No, what they did is started doing it for the money, for the big bucks. And so then they priced themselves out of the market. Now the federal government's going to come in and give us affordable health care, which raises everybody's the premiums up, and so nobody is going to be able to afford it. It is pure socialism that the church has forced us into in America, and that's why we've got the government we have today. A bureaucracy. Nobody can throw these losers out. These people are there for themselves. Oh, well, I guess we did throw out. I guess the general in charge of the VA was thrown out, but only after it was found out that veterans were put on false waiting list. They were told they were on a waiting list. Yes, the waiting list was waiting for them to die so they didn't have to treat them. And finally, when this comes out, ladies and gentlemen, then, of course, we're going to have that general resign, but what's going to change? Nothing. Why? Because you have got sick, twisted people in positions of power and authority, and that's what we ended up with in the church in America. Nothing but the sloppy agape, the greasy grace. God does not hold you to any standard of righteousness. You can rip off the poor. You can steal from the widows and orphans. All the things that were done to build this nation have now been thrown into the trash can of atheistic socialism. If you don't serve the true God, And see, there's more to, it's not doing some kind of communion wafer. To serve him means to do what he says to do. And it comes under 2 commandments. Love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength is 1 commandment. And love your neighbor as yourself. On these 2 commandments, every commandment in the Torah and the prophets is covered. Every single one. The first 4 commandments of the 10 commandments are how we love God. It's not up to us to make it up. We just don't make up our own rules and regulations and say, oh, that's how we're going to serve him. No. You have no business. He is the Almighty. You are the peon. You don't make up how you're going to serve him. He said, don't do the way things the heathen do, because what they do is an abomination. It is utterly repugnant, putrid, disgusting, and vile. Don't do those things. But yet, he said, well, that's not what Easter and the bunny rabbit means to me. That's not what Christmas means to me. Well, it really doesn't matter what they mean to you. We don't worship you. The true God says they're abominations, and if they're abominations to him, they're abominations. If it's serving the God of the Zidonians and Moloch and Chemosh, as the children of Israel were doing right here in the 10th chapter of Judges, if it was distasteful and putrid and vile to him then, the same thing goes true for today. But now we have gone into an entire time period in America today. The remembrance of us as a Christian nation has now faded away. Now we are, who knows what. The anger of Yahovah was against Israel. Why? Because they didn't serve him. They didn't obey his commandments. And so he sold them into the hands of the Philistines, and into the hands of the children of Ammon. And that year they vexed and oppressed the children of Israel. And then that continued for 18 years. All the children of Israel that were on the other side of the Jordan, in the land of the Amorites, which is Gilead, they were completely enslaved. And the children of Ammon, they passed over the Jordan and fought against Judah and against Benjamin, against the house of Ephraim. So all of the land of Israel was sore distressed. And so we didn't have any land left on the other side of the Jordan. That's in the hands of the Ammonites now, and the Moabites. All that Reuben fought for, all the half-tribe of Manasseh, all the tribe of Gad, all of them, they lost all the land, and now we are being vexed over on the west bank of the Jordan. So the children of Israel cried to Yahovah and said, we have sinned against you. We have forsaken our God. We've served lords out there with indistinct commandments. And because they cried out in repentance, Yahovah said to the children of Israel, did I not deliver you from the Egyptians and from the Amorites, from the children of Ammon and from the Philistines and the Zidonians and the Amalekites and the Maonites, all those that oppressed you? And you cried to me, and I delivered you out of their hand. I've done it over and over and over. And yet you turn around and forsake me again. You serve their other gods. You do what they tell you to do instead of what I say to do. You make up new gods of your own imagination. And that's why I am not going to deliver you anymore. Forget it. Go cry to these gods which you've chosen. Go serve these gods that you made up. Let them deliver you in the time of your tribulation. And yes, you will go through a time of great tribulation. You're not getting out of here. You're not getting out of here because you think that you're so good or whatever. No, there ain't no pre-tribulation rapture, the Almighty is saying to Israel here. You're going to go through it because you didn't learn your lesson when I redeemed you and I saved you over and over and over again. So the children of Israel said, we've sinned. Do to us whatever seems good to you. Whatever you have to do to whack us, to correct us, do it. But we're praying. We just ask you, not because we deserve it, but we ask you that you deliver us today. And so it says that they put away the strange gods from among them, and they served Jehovah according to his instructions, not something they made up. And the soul of the Almighty was grieved for the misery of Israel. That is a figure of speech. Anthropopathia, the soul of Jehovah grieved. See, soul is literally breath life, and the Almighty does not breathe. But, you know, it's anthropopathia, the pathos of the anthropos, the pathos of man that is being, you know, so that we understand that what it is, just as something grieves us to the depth of our soul that we want to die, that is the only way the Almighty could save what we have been doing to him and what we are doing now as we do our own thing, as we live in luxury, as we have the golden age of just about everything on the planet is right now, and yet we pay no attention to them. And it says that then the children of Ammon were gathered together, they encamped in Gilead, and Israel assembled themselves together. They encamped in Mizpeh. And the people of the princes of Gilead said, "What man is he that will begin to fight against the children of Ammon? Do we have anyone that can stand and fight? We don't have a king. We don't have a king. We need someone that's going to fight against the children of Ammon." And so now, Jephthah, the warrior son of a prostitute, is then called by the Almighty. What a befitting thing. The son of a prostitute. In Judges chapter 11 and verse 1, we begin reading. Now Jephthah, the Gileadite, was a mighty man of valor. That's short for he was like Chuck Norris. He didn't even need to reload once through the entire firefight. A mighty man of valor. He was the son of a harlot, it says. His mother was a prostitute. And Gilead begat Jephthah. Gilead's wife bare him several sons, and when his wife's son grew up, they threw Jephthah out of the house and said, "You're not going to have any inheritance in our father's house. You're the son of a Gentile woman, and furthermore, she's a prostitute. He paid her for her services. So, your mother got paid, all right? She got paid for what she did, and that's all you're getting from us." And so he left. He went and dwelled in the land of Tob, and there were a lot of empty, worthless people that gathered themselves together with him. And they went in and out with him, and it came to pass, it turns out that, this guy's like a mercenary. And so, he needs other people around him that's going to do the same thing. He's going to be border raiders. It came to pass in the process of time, the children of Ammon made war against Israel. And it was so that when the children of Ammon made war, that the elders of Gilead, these Israelites, went to fetch Jephthah out of the land of Tob. And they said, "Come, be our captain, be our leader. We need someone that is skilled in war to fight against the children of Ammon." Now, these are the people that threw him out of his father's house. Now, they said, "We need your help." And so Jephthah said, "Wait, you hate me. You threw me out of my father's house. Now you want to come when you're in distress, you've got a big problem?" And they said, "If you will come back, we'll go with you and we'll fight against the children of Ammon, and you will be our head. You are going to be the head of our family if you'll do this." Obviously, they weren't too confident at this point. And so in verse 9, we read that Jephthah then made an agreement with them. "If you bring me home again to fight against the children of Ammon, and Jehovah deliver them before me, will you indeed make me your head?" And the elders said, Jehovah is a witness between us, if we do not do according to thy words. And so then Jephthah went back from the land of Tob, went back to Gilead, and they made him the captain over them. And Jephthah uttered all his words before Jehovah in Mizpeh. And he sent messengers to the king of the children of Ammon and said, and this is brilliant. This is somewhat what Netanyahu said recently. Because now the children of Ammon want to fight against Jephthah. They want to fight against Israel. And so he says, what have you to do with me? Why have you come against me to fight in my land? This is where I'm living. Why are you doing this? And the king of the children of Ammon answered, and it was by way of messengers, because Israel took away my land when they came up out of Egypt, from Arnon even to Jabbok and to Jordan. Now restore those lands peaceably. And Jephthah sent his messengers back to the king of Ammon and said, wait, Israel did not take away the land of Moab, nor the land of the children of Ammon. But when Israel came out of Egypt and walked through the wilderness to the Red Sea, and then came to Kadesh, then Israel sent messengers to the king of Edom, saying, let me pass through the land. But the king of Edom wouldn't listen to them. And in like manner, they sent to the king of Moab, they sent messengers, and asked, let us pass through your land. But they refused to let them pass through the land. And so Israel had to stay in Kadesh. Then they went along the wilderness and went alongside of the land of Edom and the land of Moab, and came by the east side of Moab and pitched on the other side of Arnon. But they didn't come into the borders of Moab. Israel sent messengers to Sihon, the king of Amorites, and the king of Heshbon, and said, let us pass through. Let us pass through. We'll pay for the water when we go through. But Sihon said, no, I'm not going to let you do it. And so he came out and fought against Israel. What happened? Israel kicked them. Jehovah, the God of Israel, delivered Sihon and all of his people into the hand of Israel. They killed them, and they took the land of the Amorites. Why? Because they were attacked. And when you attack, when an enemy attacks and you take their land, that's yours. And so they possessed all the coast, all the borders of the Amorites, from Arnon even to Jabbok. Now, Jehovah, the God of Israel, hath thrown the Amorites out from before his people Israel. And the question is, would you not possess all the land which Chemosh, your God, gives you to possess? Well, that's a good question. Or Molech, or what's the moon god? What's that? What's his name? Who's that fictitious moon god? You know, Muhammad, that guy that's not any prophet. I forgot the name of that fictitious moon god. You know, if he gives you land to possess, wouldn't you take it? It's like, yeah, the Syrians came, they controlled the Golan Heights, and then they came to destroy Israel. What happened? Israel took the land. They took the land from the Syrians. Well, Jehovah gave the land, and no, United Nations, Israel isn't going to give it back. Are you out of your mind? Yeah, why don't you give the continental United States back to the Native Americans, and then you can tell Israel what to do, all right? Those jokers at the State Department. You know, read the scripture, you morons. Are you any better than Balak, the son of Zippor, the king of Moab? Did he ever strive against Israel? Did he ever fight against them? Well, Israel dwelled in Heshbon and her towns, and in Aroer and her towns, and all the cities that are along the coast of Arnon. They lived there for 300 years. So why didn't you recover them over the last 300 years? So you coming against me, I haven't sinned against you. You are the ones that are wrong. So I'm calling Yahovah to be the judge today between the children of Israel and the children of Ammon. Let him be the judge. Come to war against me. Go ahead. I am calling upon Yahovah, the God of Israel, to defend this land that he gave to his people, because it no longer belongs to you. So the king of Ammon did not listen to the words of Jephthah. And then it says the spirit of Yahovah came upon Jephthah. And he passed over Gilead and Manasseh, and passed over Mizpeh, and he passed over the children of Ammon. And when he attacked, he vowed a vow to Yahovah, and he said, if you will, without fail, deliver the children of Ammon into my hand, then it shall be that whatever comes out of the doors of my house to meet me when I return in peace from the children of Ammon, that surely shall be Yahovah's, and I shall offer it up for a burnt offering. So it came to pass that when Jephthah passed over to the children of Ammon to fight against them, that Yahovah delivered them into his hands. He smote them, he annihilated, he took 20 cities and all the way to the plain of the vineyards with a very great slaughter, way over into Iraq. And so the children of Ammon were subdued before the children of Israel. And now, what happens? Jephthah comes to Mizpah. He comes to his house. And as he is approaching his house, his daughter, seeing in the distance his father coming, and the daughter came out to meet him with timbrels and dances. She was his only child. Her father has returned alive. It was his only daughter, his only child, no other sons and daughters. And she came out to greet her father, and as soon as he saw her, he ripped his clothes and he said, alas, alas, my daughter, you have brought me so low. You are the one that troubles me more than anyone troubles me, because I have opened my mouth to Yahovah in a vow. And I have vowed to Yahovah that I cannot rescind. I have vowed that if he gives me victory and he allows me to come back alive, whatever comes out of my house first, whatever comes out, I will dedicate him to him as a totally dedicated burnt offering. And she said, Papa, Daddy, if you've opened your mouth to Yahovah, do to me according to that which has proceeded out of your mouth. Because Yahovah hath taken vengeance for you. He's taken vengeance against your enemies, even all the children of Ammon. And she said to her father, please allow me this one thing. Leave me alone. Let me do what I will for 2 months, that I may go out up and down the mountains, camping and spending time with my friends to bewail my virginity. Both me and all my friends. Let me have 2 months. And he said, go. And he sent her away for 2 months, and she went out with her companions to bewail her virginity upon the mountains. And it came to pass, at the end of the 2 months, she returned to her father, who did with her according to his vow, which he had vowed, and she knew no man. And it became a custom in Israel that the daughters of Israel went yearly to lament the daughter of Jephthah, the Gileadite, 4 days in every year. See, they knew what it cost this man, that he had hazarded his life. He had given his life to stand for Israel and to fight against the Ammonites, against insurmountable odds. And he made a vow to Yahovah that whatever comes out of his house first will be a burnt offering. And when it was his daughter, then he knew what that meant. His daughter said, let me have 2 months to bewail my virginity, because she is going to be a burnt offering. Not that she is going to be executed, killed, and roasted on a fire as you would do with an offering of a sheep or a goat or an oxen. That would be one thing. If a dog came out, you know, a dog wouldn't be treated that way. A dog, even the price of a dog is not to be offered to the Almighty. But what was it with his daughter? Just as we're going to read in the succeeding books, we're going to see that Samuel was dedicated to the Almighty, that Hannah prayed and said, if you will give me a son, I will dedicate him to the service of Jehovah. And as soon as he was weaned, he was taken to the tabernacle in Shiloh, where he relived the rest of his life dedicated in the temple service. Jephthah's daughter is not going to be burned in a sacrifice. She is going to spend the rest of her life as a virgin. She will not know a man. She will not ever be married or have any children. And after 2 months of spending time with her family, then she goes and is taken to Shiloh, where she is then put in the temple service to never know a man, but to serve in the temple. And every year, the daughters of the sons of Israel, the daughters would go up and would visit her every single year and spend 4 days with her, because of the honor that they have for her father. Her father, who was a son of a prostitute, but who stood for Israel, and the Almighty honored his vow to Israel. And he honored his vow to the Almighty, and his daughter was a totally dedicated sacrifice in the service of the Almighty in the tabernacle in Shiloh. I would like now to close in prayer. Yehovah bless you and keep you. Yehovah make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yehovah lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. In the name of Yeshua, the Prince of Peace. Amen. Shabbat Shalom, Torah fans. Shavua Tov. Have a good week.